Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So behind me I got a 2015 Nissan Rogue and we're going to be doing front pads and rotors. So let's begin. Alright guys, so the first step in this, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and kind of pull out our wheel so we can gain access to our caliper. Once we have our caliper kind of on the side, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and remove this 14mm bolt. Now you can remove both bolts if you'd like. I just like to remove this one bolt. And then once I have this removed, what I do is I grab a pry bar or something to kind of get the caliper pried up here. And once you pry it up, what you're going to want to do, and let me kind of move around here, is I grab my whole caliper and I have a tendency to pull the upper pin, remove it all in one just like this, and then I just kind of let it sit up here to the side. Now once you do that, you're going to want to go ahead and take off your brake pads. Now, the reason why we're replacing these brake pads is this is not wearing evenly. For some reason, the driver's side on this car is a lot lower on the pad life than the passenger side. The passenger side has like 3 times the amount this has. So I'm expecting something to be hanging up here. It could be a pin, could be a caliper, and sure enough, there we go. We have a pin that's hanging up, it's frozen, and it's causing the calipers to basically stay applied. So the brake pads are never really releasing. Alright guys, so like I initially said in the last clip, is the reason why we're doing brakes on this car is because these brake pads on the driver's side are a lot thinner than on the passenger side, and I was suspecting something was stuck up here. Now I checked out my pin here. This pin is frozen in there. Now it makes sense because this car doesn't really do a lot of miles. The owner only uses it to go grocery shopping. They're an elderly couple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to remove this, and clearly I can't move it. It won't move by hand. So what I'm going to do is peel back this boot. Now maybe a little bit difficult for you guys to see. And before I unbolt my caliper, what I'm going to do is I have this tool it's called a pin driver. You guys can kind of see it has a little hook on the end, and what this is meant to do is you put it on your pin that's frozen, and then this end you're going to take your hammer and you're just going to kind of whack on it, and you should be able to remove it. Now let me see if I can zoom you guys back here and kind of set you up in a better angle, and you guys can kind of see me do this. So I go ahead and I set it on there, and I just kind of beat it up, and I was able to get it off. Now the reason why this pin probably was frozen in there, and I can kind of already see it, is you see this little rubber piece here, mainly at the end, the little isolator that helps, vibrations and noise in the brake system. It looks like someone might have done a brake service on this previously and they used the wrong grease. It looks like, a wheel bearing grease. Rubber components do not like wheel bearing grease. They do tend to swell up. So we're going to probably have to clean these up and then replace those little, rubber boots. It's like a little, I don't know how I guess you can see it now, but you see that little rubber piece on the end. It's just kind of like a little dampener. So we're going to need to order those. Now I don't have those here, but I will order them and I will put new ones on when I service my bracket. So we found the root cause of it. Now what we're going to want to do, since we took off our pin, we're going to go ahead and test out our caliper. Now you guys have seen me do caliper tests before, and the best way to do it is once you have your caliper off the car, and let me see if I could kind of move you guys here so you guys can kind of follow me with this, is I have my caliper off the car here, guys. And what I'm going to do is take my caliper compressor. Now before you move forward in any job, you always want to test out your caliper. Make sure that your piston isn't bad, because what is the point of cleaning up the bracket and going along and doing everything to find out you need to replace the caliper in the bracket. So as you guys can see in this one is actually pushing back fairly easy, and we are not having any problems. There's no fluid leaking out or anything of that nature. So this caliper is good. The main issue what we were having with this one is that pin on the bottom was frozen up, and it was causing the brake pads to stay applied even after the brakes were released, and that's why we were wearing. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and remove our bracket and take that off the car, and we're going to do our cleaning. Now I've covered how to clean these brackets before, guys. I'm not going to cover it in this video, so just go ahead and take it off and clean it up, and it's real simple. So I'll be back once I have that done. Alright guys, so what you're going to want to do after you remove your bracket is you're going to go ahead and take off your old rotor. And one thing that you're going to be doing here is you're going to go ahead and clean up your hub surface, get it nice and cleaned up. Now, this hub is actually not that horrible, but every time you do a new rotor on a car, you always want to clean up your flanges as good as you can. I'm going to go in here with a special tool that I have and kind of just use my grinder in between and clean that up. Now, some people like to put some sort of lubricant in between so they don't rust. Up here, it's not really that big of a deal, but if you want, you could put something small. I tend to, kind of leave them dry. If I will put anything on there, I'll normally just spray some sort of penetrating oil before I put it on. There is a product that I do like to use, but it's hard to get up here. It's basically like a rust protection type of product. I'm not gonna name it because it's a pretty big one, but if you have any spray that you want to use after you clean this up for rust protection, go ahead and do so. Now I gotta wait for the rotors to come in because the company that was bringing me the rotors actually brought me the wrong rotors. They did not match up to this car, so I'm gonna have to pause this video for a little bit and I'll be back with you guys once I have the rotors. But one thing that I did do off camera is I went ahead and I serviced my caliper. I got everything lubed up. You guys saw me pushing the caliper piston and I cleaned everything up and got everything lubed up and ready. What I'm going to do is go ahead and clean up this flange now, and then once I get my rotor, I'll put that on and I'll be back with you guys to show you the rest. Okay guys, I'm back. I went ahead and I cleaned up my hub surface. I got my rotor installed on there, and I went ahead and I serviced my caliper bracket. I replaced that little boot and everything that was inside of here that was causing it to seize up and create tension. Lubed everything up, cleaned all my little slide areas, and I put my new clips in place. Now, one thing that I do want to show you guys on these Nissan clips, these things are over engineered, and honestly, I don't like this. The way that this is supposed to work is the brake pad is supposed to go in here, and these are supposed to hook onto the brake pad, and what they're supposed to do is kind of provide a backward tension. So basically, when you apply the brakes, they move forward. When you release them, they should pull the brake pad backwards. This is just over engineering. These things are kind of difficult to work with. I had to pre-assemble mine on the bench. The springs, these things do not come installed on them. You got to kind of find it and hook it and do it. Make sure you install these because you do need a way to pull back the pad so you can get maximum pad life. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the pads on this, and once I have that all set, I'll bring you guys back in. Okay guys, so I was trying to put the brake pads in, but these springs kept popping them out. So I had to kind of hold them in while lowering my brake caliper in order to get them to stay. But one thing that you want to pay critical attention to, and I'll zoom you guys in. If you notice this little spring, that little tab has like a little hook. You want to make sure that's on the other side of the pad, on the inboard side. Same thing for the bottom and on the other side, because like I said, what they do is they kind of push it out. Now when you're trying to install these, you got to kind of hold them, make sure that these springs are in place and they haven't popped out. And as you hold the bottom, you can kind of put the caliper on, because the caliper will kind of help clamp them together. Otherwise, they are very springy and they just kind of want to pop out of place. So you want to make sure you hook those up right and then lower the caliper on it. It's not difficult, but it does take a little bit of time, a little bit longer than normal applications. To be honest with you, I'm not a fan of these. Once you have your caliper put down, all you want to do is go ahead and bolt up your caliper. And then once you do that, you're pretty much all set. Your brakes are all done. What you want to do at this point is put the wheel on, make sure you torque on your wheel, and then afterwards do a nice test drive, make sure there's no noises or anything. And once you do that, you should be all set. So with that said, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe. It'll definitely help my channel grow. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys on the next repair.